I read 13 books in June, and that is my best reading month since January, and it's only because I was on holiday for 10 days. And it was one of the best holidays I've ever had. It was really relaxing, and I did basically nothing but read by the pool. I'm lying, I did actually do other stuff. We did a few excursions and things and did some sightseeing. All of those 13 books were contemporary thriller mystery books, so that is why I was able to get through them all so quickly. I read 4,437 pages and listened to 1,143 minutes on audio. I gave 0 books 1 star, 4 books 2 stars, 5 books 3 stars, 3 books 4 stars, and 1 book 5 stars, meaning my average rating was 3.1, which isn't great. It was a fairly average month, but that always seems to happen when I'm reading more books. And like I said, all the books that I read were mysteries and thrillers and contemporaries, but if you want to better break down, 6 of the books that I read were contemporaries and 4, that's not right, that doesn't add up. What have I done here? 8 of the books that I read were contemporaries, 4 were thrillers, and 1 was non-fiction. The first book I read, I decided to start on the plane, and that was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Everyone has been talking about this one. You all know what it's about. It's about this actress, it's adult fiction, it's about this actress who is called Evelyn Hugo, and she asks a journalist to come and write about her life because she wants to release an autobiography after she's dead. Previously, she's tried to keep her private life quite private because of a lot of drama that was happening back in her younger years. But now she's willing to do a tell-all about her 7 husbands and about her girlfriend. I feel like a lot of people have downplayed the bisexuality rap in this. Evelyn Hugo is bisexual. She is in a relationship with a woman throughout the majority of the book, I would say, while also being married and in relationships with men at different points in her life. I gave this one 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. I was very surprised by how much bi rep there was in the book because I really don't think people talk about it enough. I thought Evelyn Hugo was such an interesting character. I really, really didn't like her love interest, whose name I think was Cecily or Celise or something. She was annoying and awful. Basically a complete fuckwit. But it's fine, I really liked Evelyn and that's the main thing. The next book I read is The Honeymoon by Tina Seskis. I gave this one 2 stars. It's an adult thriller set on a beach. I'm pretty sure it's the Maldives. At the beginning of the book, the main character's husband is missing and she is stuck on this island with other people, obviously, and she has to figure out what happened to him. I didn't find this very interesting, which is why I gave it 2 stars. I thought it was all very bog standard for a thriller. Didn't offer anything new, and I hated the characters. They were awful. They were just, they were irritating, and their viewpoints like just really irritated me and put me off, so that wasn't great. The next book I read was my 5-star book, and that is Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty. While we are on the topic of people not talking about shit that they should, Big Little Lies has a lot of domestic violence in it, and I wasn't expecting that because all I knew about this book going in was that it's a mystery thriller contemporary thing about a group of mothers. It is, but also there's a lot of abuse and rape, a lot of violence, and I would have appreciated knowing about that before. But that's also one of the reasons why I loved it so much. That's why I gave it 5 stars, because Liane Moriarty did such a good job of depicting domestic violence side of things, and she did it very respectfully and just really, really well. And seeing Celeste's point of view as she was going through all of this just made me cry. I was sobbing at the end of this book. It's fantastic. I should probably mention what it's about. So it's the beginning of the school year and there's a new mum and kid in town, Jane and Ziggy. Ziggy is accused of strangling another classmate at the beginning of the year, and this turns all the mothers against him, bar a few. Jane, the mother, becomes friends with Madeline and Celeste, and the 3 of them are all point of view characters, and you learn more about their lives. At the beginning of the book you find out that someone is seriously injured or dead, and then it sort of flashes back to the beginning and builds up to that injury or death. It was just so well done. I've watched the TV show as well, but I didn't love it as much because it added some unnecessary drama, and I don't think that the big reveal was done as well as it could have been. But like I said, I cried. This book is fantastic. I loved it so much. I then read another book that I gave 2 stars, I think. Yes, 2 stars. And it was really boring. I have nothing really to say about it. It's called We Can See You by Simon Kernick. This one, I can't even remember what it was about. Oh yeah, so someone's daughter is taken and there's a ransom and the mum has to go and find her. And I think it's meant to be like an action-packed thriller. I would say it's action-packed, but it's just not, like the characters aren't that interesting. It's like one of those police serial things that I have real trouble connecting with. I prefer like standalone thrillers. That wasn't great, didn't really enjoy this one that much. I then read Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston and I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was fairly average, kind of boring. What is going on with my camera? A bit better. And I really didn't like the way that the author wrote the British character, the prince, Henry. And there were also a couple of things that she got wrong about Britain and the throne and stuff. Like, for example, Henry was born last out of the 3 princes and princesses, but he was apparently second in line for the throne out of the 3 of them, and that was wrong. That's incorrect. That annoyed me a little bit. And then there were like a few British sayings that the author tried to include in there. They didn't make sense in context at all. Like, I think Henry said he was being driven round the bend, or going round the bend at some point, and it just didn't make any sense. So that wasn't great. A lot of people have said that this book is steamy. I wouldn't say it's steamy at all. It reads a lot like YA because the sex scenes fade to black almost every time, or if they don't fade to black, you see them start kissing or like start getting into it, and then all of a sudden they're done. So yeah, I wouldn't really say it's steamy or smutty. It's kind of cute, but I didn't really love it. And also the American main character, whose name I can't remember, really annoyed me. He's just an irritating personality. So 3 stars. You Will Know Me by Megan Abbott. I gave this one 2.5 stars. This is another one that's meant to be a thriller, but it wasn't really. It was kind of boring. The main character is a mother and her daughter is an aspiring gymnast. She's like fantastic. Her name is Devon, and one day Devon's boyfriend dies. People start looking into that death and they wonder what happened. But the thing is, Devon's boyfriend doesn't die until like midway through the book. The entire first half talks about gymnasts and gymnastics, and I really don't care what kind of body movements these gymnasts are doing, or like what equipment they need, or what these gymnast mums are doing. I don't care. I don't really like sports in books, so that wasn't great. Especially for a thriller, I feel like it should have gotten to the point a lot faster than it did. And then on top of that, the big reveal was dull. Like, you saw it coming a mile away, and I just didn't really care because I don't care about the characters. I then read Wolfhunter River by Rachael Caine, which I gave 3.5 stars. This is the 3rd book in her Stillhouse Lake series, which I'm really enjoying. I think this is my least favourite in the series so far, just because of the way that the 2nd book ended. Rachael Caine had to do a kind of bridge book, and Wolfhunter River is that book. I'm not going to say what this one's about just because it's the 3rd book in the series, but in the 1st book, Stillhouse Lake, the main character finds out that her husband is a serial killer and he's arrested. She has to then get new identities for herself and her children because they're being harassed by people online and in real life, because a lot of people think that she was involved, and if they don't think that she was involved, they're kind of obsessed with her husband and they think that she should have been more supportive. So she settles in Stillhouse Lake, and then there's a dead body in the lake and things kick off from there. I love this series so much. Admittedly, I didn't love this one, Wolfhunter River, as much as the other 2 books, which I think I gave them both 5 stars. I definitely gave Stillhouse Lake 5 stars. I'm not sure about Kilman Creek. Like I said, this one's kind of a bridge book, and because I'm already attached to the characters, I still ended up really enjoying it. I then read Patron Saints of Nothing by Ribay. I gave this one 4 stars. I received it from the publisher in exchange for an honest review. This is about a Filipino-American boy who finds out that his Filipino cousin has been killed and has been involved in the war on drugs that's going on over in the Philippines. The main character, whose name I can't remember because I suck, wants to go over to the Philippines and find out what's been happening. He doesn't really know about his heritage and his family's background, so the whole book is kind of like talking about his journey and discovery about his culture. It's really good. I loved it. I didn't cry, I don't think, but it was very emotional because of the subject matters and stuff. There are also some queer characters in there as well. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I don't really have much more to say other than you should read this book, and I think a lot of the Filipino or Filipino-American people on my Twitter timeline have been loving this one, so I would trust their word more than mine. I Stopped Somewhere by T.E. Carter. I received this one in exchange for an honest review as well. I gave it 3 stars. It's a YA contemporary. It's about a girl who was assaulted. Her rapists are hopefully going to be brought to justice. And it's a book about kind of people finding out what happened to her and her dealing with it in some sort of way. It did get a bit graphic at points, so I would be very careful going into it. I gave it 3 stars because I felt like I couldn't really connect to the main character. In the end, it sort of didn't wrap up as well as I was hoping it would. I'm not really disappointed in terms of how certain things in the plot went. I am disappointed that there wasn't more closure, I think, for the main character, and that's a shame because it's a very difficult subject matter and I'm normally really into those kinds of books, but I wasn't for this one. I then read The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith, which I also gave 3 stars, and I have to say that reading this one straight after I Stopped Somewhere was a mistake because there's a very similar subject matter. In The Way I Used to Be, the main character is raped at 14 years old, I think, by her brother's best friend right at the beginning of the book, and then we follow her through the years as she tries to find herself and tries to overcome what happened to her, except it keeps coming back and haunting her as it would, and it's a very difficult read as well. I would say the assault in The Way I Used to Be is less graphic than the assault in I Stopped Somewhere, but it's a bit more prevalent, I think. I did find it very difficult to read at times, and I actually really like the main character, and because of her I think I would perhaps consider bumping it up to a 4 if I didn't think that the plot was mostly kind of average. The main character was really interesting and I really enjoyed seeing her journey from a 14-year-old who had been raped and abused, and as she grew from a young teenager to a slightly older teenager and then tried to discover who she actually was. So I'd recommend it. It wasn't a bad book at all. 3 stars is a good rating. It's just it wasn't everything that I hoped it would be. I also listened to Becoming by Michelle Obama on my way to and from work, and I've been loving this audiobook. Michelle Obama narrates it herself and she does such a fantastic job, and I think the audiobook for this one is definitely the way to go. I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much as a physical book. I gave this one 4 stars. It's non-fiction, it's a biography about Michelle's life. I really enjoyed the way that she incorporated her husband's presidency in with everything else, because it's mostly a book about Michelle and how she dealt with things and like where she came from, how she raised her family, and how she progressed in her careers and switched careers and things. And obviously her husband's presidency came into it and greatly affected their lives, but it was kind of like more on the side and she didn't spend forever talking about him. It was more focused on the family as a whole, which I really enjoyed. And then the next 2 books are ones that I didn't really enjoy, so we're going to end this wrap up on a low note. The first one is Forever Interrupted by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I gave this one 2 stars. So this one is frustrating. It's, I think, Taylor Jenkins Reid's first book, because that's the reason I picked it up, because I'm trying to read all of her books in order. It's about a woman who gets married after a very quick like love affair. So they know each other 6 months, they get married, and then her husband dies after a week of marriage. It's about the main character as she... Can you tell I've forgotten her name? Because I definitely have. It's about the main character as she comes to terms with that and like looks back on this whirlwind romance that she's had and deals with her dead husband's mother, so her mother-in-law, and kind of realizes that she could have dealt with things better. And then also like there's the whole grief thing, of course. I didn't like the relationship between the main character and her husband, and I think that's why I rated this book so low. In fact, it goes a bit further than me not enjoying the relationship. I didn't like the characters. First of all, I thought that her husband, whose name is Ben, by the way, I remember that because of reasons, but I don't remember hers. I feel like Ben took advantage of her a lot, and so that like darkened the entire relationship for me. Didn't really enjoy it at all, because I thought that it was going to be revealed that he was only using her for like a place to live and for her money and stuff, because he moved in with her very quickly, and I thought it was quite suspicious. But I think I've just read too many thrillers. And then I thought that she, the main character, kind of kicked off about the stupidest things, and she like really needed to mature, but she didn't do that, and because she lost her husband so quickly she didn't have a chance to do that either, and that was really quite disappointing, I thought. I will be checking out more of the author's books just because I know that she does improve in her writing, but it's just a shame that this one was so low because it's really killed any kind of buzz I had surrounding Taylor Jenkins Reid. But I might try to read her next book next month and see how it goes. And then finally I read 5 Feet Apart by Rachael Lippincott. I read this as a buddy read with Eric and Amanda, and I think the 2 of them enjoyed this book a lot more than I did. I gave it 2 stars. It's a YA contemporary about 2 teenagers who are suffering from cystic fibrosis. I've never read The Fault in Our Stars, but I feel like this is basically The Fault in Our Stars but with a different disease. I know that some people complain when people say that YA books are too immature, but this book was so immature in that it's like simplistic, and that irritates me because teenagers are fucking intelligent and they can read much more intelligent things than what this book is giving them. I did really appreciate the information on cystic fibrosis. I'm not sure how accurate it was because I haven't done my own research yet, but it's made me more interested in looking into it. So that's a positive note. It's just this book was very romance orientated, and I struggle with romance at the best of times, and teen romance is not really something I like. I can deal with it if there's a good plot or if there's chemistry between the characters, but there wasn't in this one, and I'm really quite disappointed. That said, a lot of people have loved this book, so maybe you would too. It's just I'm quite picky when it comes to YA contemporary with... I don't actually know what I was going to say. I guess I'm just quite picky. So those are all the books that I read in June. I'm sorry I've been away for so long. I do have a bunch of videos planned for July though, and I hope I can edit and upload them fast enough for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you on my next video. Bye!